The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Welcome everybody to a regular town board meeting, Town of Queensbury. It is July 20th, 2020, and the time is 7:01 p.m. So before we begin the regular agenda items, would you please join Councilperson Anthony Meadowbrook in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the very first item. It is a public hearing item on a proposed local law. So Rose, if you would inform the public about that, please.
This is a public hearing on a proposed local law to reenact and reestablish temporary moratorium on installation of ground-mounted solar energy systems.
All right. This is to continue the moratorium on ground-mounted solar energy systems until we formulate a law that we think is ready for a public hearing, and we're there. As a matter of fact, we're so close to the final wording of that law, we may even have that law viewable to the public and before the setting of the public hearing, which may occur August 3rd. But in the meantime, we want the moratorium to continue. We do have county planning agency approval for extending the temporary moratorium on ground-mounted solar systems. And so we do have a public hearing on this tonight. So all this is to prohibit any ground-mounted solar until we adopt a law, which may be as soon as the end of August adopting the law. But in the meantime, we want to continue the moratorium. So there is a public hearing on this, and I'm going to ask people present, and then I will ask the people who are watching us through YouTube to give us a call or holler if you have any questions on this proposed moratorium law or extending the moratorium. And you can call area code 518-761-8225. So we'll, and then Zoom people, and people are on the Zoom. If you wish to ask a question or have a say in this proposed extension of the moratorium on ground-mounted solar energy systems, you'll have the opportunity to do that, but you'll be in phase 3 of this public hearing. Okay, before we start the public hearing, any thoughts or comments on behalf of the town board?
My only comment is that I only support this because of COVID. we've been futzing around with the local law, and I know there was a shift change Jan 1, but certainly I'm anxious to get the regular law on the books so that people know what to expect. But, given the drill that we're in the middle of with regard to a million things nobody had planned on, I will support extending this one more time. So this is the second time we've extended it. But I think, like you said, we're well on our way to getting the actual regulation out there. So I'm okay with it. But
Get it parked out back.
Yes, I hate you. That's me. I didn't touch it.
Gremlins.
Come back to Warrenport.
All right. So if nothing else from the town board at this time, I will open the public hearing on Resolution 1.1, public hearing resolution enacting local law of 2020 to reenact and reestablish a temporary moratorium on installation of ground-mounted solar energy systems. Is there anybody present tonight that would like to speak to this proposed law for a moratorium on ground-mounted solar, to extend the moratorium on ground-mounted solar? No one present. All right, YouTube. Again, area code 518-761-8225. And you can speak to the town board about this. Your caller ID must be observable to me. We have the phone here. All right, while we're waiting on the phone, I would like to share a letter from Judy Gorowski, who should be on the Park and Rec Commission, where she says, and I think this is worth sharing with you. I have the privilege of serving on the Queensbury Recreation Commission for the past 8 years. In December 2019, I fulfilled my term with the Recreation Commission. I am so impressed with the professionalism, creativity, and plain old hard work of the members of the Recreation Department in the town of Queensbury. Lori O'Shaughnessy, Gary Crossman, Jennifer Barici, are so dedicated to the mission of creative learning and recreational opportunities for all the citizens of the town of Queensbury, from infants to elderly. They go above and beyond. Steve Lovering, the director, is an innovative leader who inspires the staff to excel in everything they do. Under Steve's leadership, he has provided the town of Queensbury with recreational opportunities which have increased in number and variety, not to mention the immense task of overseeing all the parks for their maintenance, building new facilities, purchasing equipment, coordinating with the Union Free School District, Queensbury. So she just says a lot of things that I thought needed to be said and needed to be expressed. She said it well. Thank you, Judy. All right. Again, 518-761-8225 for anybody that has a question in reference to extending this moratorium. All right, we're still waiting. I want to give you ample time. Make sure we have a public hearing. The Post-Star had a nice article on U.S. Representative John Lewis from Georgia. And they put a Lewis quote in their paper, and I think it's worth repeating. 50 years later, we can ride anywhere we want to ride. We can stay where we want to stay. Those signs that said white and colored are gone. And you won't see them anymore except in a museum, in a book, or on a video. But there are still visible signs buried in the hearts of humankind that form a gulf between us. Too many of us still believe our differences define us instead of the divine spark that runs through all of human creation. John Lewis. At the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington in 2013. As you know, he was 80 years old, recently passed away from pancreatic cancer. I want to thank the Post-Star for a very nice quote from John Lewis. All right, so we haven't received any interest in those people in the public that wish to speak to this resolution to reenact and reestablish a temporary moratorium on the installation of ground-mounted solar energy systems. Are there any further town board thoughts on the matter? Then I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll move it.
All right, moved by Councilperson Meadowbrook, seconded by Councilperson McGee. Roll call vote on this, please.
Councilperson Meadowbrook.
Yes.
Breer.
Yes.
Barone.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
And Strout.
Yes. All right, moratorium continues. Next, we have 5 resolutions, and we were talking about the town board, and when was the last time we had only 5 resolutions? I mean, usually we have 12, 15, 17, and we will meet in formal manner twice a month and at least once a month in a workshop to discuss things that are ongoing. I don't know of any other municipality that meets and discusses the issues like we do here at Queensbury. All right, so what I will do is Rose Mellon, Deputy Clerk, Town Clerk for Town of Queensbury, will introduce to the public, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it after she's done. 3.1, please, Rose.
Resolution authorizing contribution to Warren County towards purchase of mobile salt brine making unit.
All right, so far Queensbury has received a live edge Truck Max plow, all right, through grant money, with the intent of reducing our use of salt, especially in the Lake George Basin. This type of plow has parts to it. So when you have an unlevel, an uneven road, it clears the road better than a straight edged plow that doesn't manipulate based on the terrain it's traveling over. So therefore, more snow is cleaned up, less salt is needed to make the road safe. We also have brine equipment. But what we need is brine. That's a solution of water and salt. In solution, it's much more effective than salt alone. You need less of it, and if you put it down pre to an event, it's much more effective, and there is less salt that goes into the water bodies, like Glen Lake and Lake George. Now, if you notice the salt levels in Lake George over the last 30 years, they have gone up 300%. 300%. The scientists say that Lake George is a lake that can still handle that. It has not reached the turning point where it's going to be downgraded. It is still able to handle the salt levels we're contributing. But if we keep growing and keep developing and keep throwing more salt, it is going to reach a turning point where it's going to be very difficult to rehab it and turn it back to the way it should be. So we're making the efforts now through straight edge plows, reducing salt, use of brine to diminish our salt contribution to Lake George and Glen Lake and so forth. Now, Dave Wick, the executive director of the Lake George Park Commission, tells us that we are making great progress, that they are doing the measuring, and they are seeing the salt output, and that we're making a great collective progress to reduce road salt usage throughout the Lake George Basin. And Mr. Wick has advised that the outside salt brine vendor has been purchased by a larger company. So costs are anticipated to increase. However, a cost-saving solution has been identified such that the brine could be made locally We can make it ourselves locally, centrally, using salt from our salt pile, and put together an industrial grade mobile salt brine making unit that can go and then deliver brine to the towns at a much cheaper price than we were buying it for from this company. So the village of Lake George has $72,000 in water quality grant funding available towards the purchase. All right, that leaves a gap of about $28,000 because it's going to cost about $100,000. So they are asking each municipality to contribute. They're going to figure out the final things depending on how many contributions we get, but it could be up to $5,000. They're anticipating it to be $4,000 and $5,000. So this is a resolution to authorize Queensbury's share and contribution in an amount up to $5,000 for that brine making equipment. 3.2, Rose.
Resolution authorizing and ratifying extension renewal of agreement between the Town of Queensbury and Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District regarding MS4 stormwater management services through June 30, 2021.
All right. Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District, under the direction of Jim Libro, they do our MS4 program. That is municipal separate storm sewer system. Get the 4S, okay? The MS4, the 4S is separate storm sewer system. It's a program. In the town of Queensbury, we are a regulated community under the New York State DEC Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Program. So our task is to regulate and help protect and improve the quality of public body waters in the more densely populated parts of the state, which Queensbury is. More specifically, we take a look at stormwater runoff. So by this resolution, we're continuing our contract with Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District to help us with our MS4 program. So this is amount of $12,000 per year, and it's being proposed to continue, $12,000. Same price as it was last couple of years. Okay, 3.3.
Resolution acknowledging Town of Moroe's purchase of additional 100,000 gallons of reserve capacity from Town of Queensbury on behalf of Queensbury Consolidated Water District.
Queensbury is very happy to work with its neighbors. We work with the town of Kingsbury, we work with Hudson Falls, we work with Glens Falls, we work with the town of Moroe, we work with Sucklands Falls. This is another example of intermunicipal cooperation. So the town of Moroe wishes to purchase, and we already supply water to the town of Moroe, which in turn supplies to the village of Sucklands Falls when they need it, when their wells are being worked on and so forth. So it's a great backup system for the village of Sucklands Falls, but it is, for most people in the town of Moroe, their primary water system. So they are asking for more, and we're glad to give them more. They're asking for an additional 100,000 of reserve capacity, which the buy-in will be 106,000, which in turn we give to the system, the capital improvement and everything else. So they will have a total of 1.35 million gallons of reserve capacity if they need it. It gets metered. 3.4, if that resolution gets approved.
Resolution authorizing increase in developers' buy-in fee for extensions within any Town of Queensbury water district.
All right, so tonight the theme is water, I guess. We have some of the cheapest water that I know of. Regionally, statewide, interstate, New England, I don't see too many communities that offer water as cheap as we do. All right, we try and keep the cost to a minimum. We try and keep the taxes to a minimum. That's what we do here at Queensbury. But sometimes we have to raise fees. And this is one case where Chris Harrington, the superintendent of water in the town of Queensbury would like to increase the buy-in fee from $100 to $350 per lot. Okay? And I will give the public an opportunity to speak to any of these resolutions tonight when I get done explaining them. So I have one last one, 3.5 row.
Resolution approving audit of bills warrant of 7/21/2020.
All right, with a payment date of 7/21, totaling $2,121,021.61. We did have a resident ask about the amounts, so and wanted me to explain them. $1,528,367 of this amount is a band payment for the Cary Road Sewer Project. We pay the band payment so that we can proceed to the bond. Okay? So that's what that amount is all about. All right. So before I turn it over to the public for questions, any questions on behalf of the town board on the 5 resolutions before us tonight?
So John, I just want to make a comment with regard to the salt problems and challenges that we have. I think you correctly stated that the town is working hard and the rest of the municipalities are working hard together. However, we, I think, need to start looking at the private plowers because we have no insights into how much salt they're using and no regulation of what they're really doing. And there's a lot of plowing that gets done in the Lake George Basin by private plowers, and I think we need to look at how to improve on that situation. I know Chris Nowitzki's talked about it a couple times at our LID meeting, or Low Impact Development meeting, and several of the folks have commented that the next step in this process should be to look at who and what and how are the local people plowing driveways and roads in the Lake George Basin, so that we can get them on board, educate them, and hopefully have them reduce their salt content as well.
Yeah, very good, Harrison. Yes, and congratulations to the Fund for Lake George and Eric Sy and Chris Nowitzki, who took the leadership in the salt abatement program. And they too acknowledge what you just said, that it's one thing for the public, and we are the primary users of salt, but people who are doing their driveways and parking lots, like you mentioned, that needs to be addressed too. Anything else, Board?
You should bet it's earlier, the request by Chris Harrington for the increase in the fee from 100 to 50. I know he usually watches his expenses, and it must be something
That's to cover costs.
cost to increase.
We've fallen behind, and he's, with all the other things he's got going, he's looking at his finances very closely. And he's saying, here's one area where it's not really paying for itself, where we really should. And if you take a look at what other municipalities are doing, we're still reasonable.
Sure.
But we need to increase that. It's not going to bring in huge amounts of money and going from 100 to 350, but it'll be something that's more appropriate.
In covering that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so anybody here at the town board meeting present tonight would like to speak to any of the resolutions before the town board tonight? All right, seeing none. Anybody through YouTube? And again, that's area code 518-761-8225. So while we're waiting for folks to call in, I got lots of stuff. All right. Ridge Road, Ridge Road, State Route 9L. We call it Ridge Road. It's a state road. They are going to repave 2 parts of that. The first part is from the Queensbury Glens Falls line to Quaker Road. They will start that. They're planning to start that Wednesday. That's July 22nd, Wednesday. They plan on being done on or before Tuesday, depending on the weather. So then they haven't set a firm date, but following that, they're going to do from Sunnyside Road to Clements Road. Okay, that's going to be the second big paving project that's going to follow shortly after the Queensbury Glens Falls line to Quaker Road project is done. So I want to make that announcement. They are still going to keep single lanes open, but keep that in mind.
Judd, can you repeat that? Sunnyside to Clements Road?
Yeah. Clements Road is just past 149 on your way to Cleverdale. It's where the Springbok Distillery is on, where they're going to be expanding.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so they're going to do that stretch.
Huh.
You notice the part they're skipping.
Oh, good Lord. Can I open
Yeah.
this door?
The part that they're skipping,
The middle?
the part where we have to
Do the
put
water.
the liner into the water line, and we're going to have to dig into the road every so often to do that.
So they're doing all that stretch.
Yeah, wow, that's a big one. And using federal funds, the county is having Sunnyside and Sunnyside East repaved. And I also, we are outsourcing some of our paving,
Your road. How did you?
and we are going to be doing some of our own paving, but we're going to outsource Garrison Road, Gurney Lane, Luzerne Road, Highland Spring Way. So we've secured Peckham to proceed with those 4 roads. And then as Tony did in an email today, pointed out that there are going to be other roads that the town's going to pave themselves, but these ones are roads that need reconstruction.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. 761-8225. Area code 518-761-8225.
So excited.
Nobody wants to speak to the 5 resolutions before the board tonight? All right, how about on Zoom? I don't see anybody on Zoom other than participants. I see a chat. Michael Gu, which town board member was speaking? It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, well, on YouTube or, yeah, it must be on Zoom. Now, I can't help you with that, Michael.
I answered him.
Oh, okay. Well, that was councilperson Freer.
That's right.
All right. I don't see anybody from Zoom. We have attendees, but nobody's indicated an interest. And even you folks at Zoom, if you want to, you can still call in. If you want to go through Zoom or don't know how to go through Zoom, raising your little blue hand or do the webinar chat, or you can still call in. Area code 518-761-8225. Okay. Having no interest in having folks from out there speak to any of the 5 resolutions, I'll go back to the town board and ask the town board, are there any resolutions that you need pulled for whatever reason for roll call vote?
Nope.
Any further comments on any of the 5 resolutions?
How long are we doing the MS4 services? I think it's great, but is it going to be a patch each year?
Well, we do a little bit each year.
Okay.
And we do monitoring each year. Part of the MS4 program, I'll give you some examples. We monitor the outfalls into coastal woods that come from our Broadacres neighborhood and the stormwater line. And we monitor that for E. coli. And the watershed, the city, for example, wants us to check for phosphorus levels. And Jim Lieber said, well, we already kind of do that because it's in the lower watershed management plan that the town of Queensbury has to measure for phosphorus and other things. and Jim Lebron and the Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District, they're going to do that for us. We also, they get grant money for stormwater improvements. So we've used that grant money for stormwater improvements around Glen Lake and Lake George. There's also an education part where we have to go out and educate the public about what you can do to improve the stormwater leaving your property going into our body of water. And so forth. So if you go online to the MS4, there's a bunch of components that we have to show that we did this, we did the educational component, we're doing the monitoring, we're doing this, we did some stormwater improvements. We have to show that we're doing this. So we hire them to do that. And Craig Brown kind of is the town representative with the Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District to make sure everything's coordinated.
They would come to the planning board twice a year to do some training as well. I don't know if they did that with the ZBA.
No, but I went to a whole day of forestry as part of ZBA because there were some zoning issues with regard to urban forests. So yeah, the soil and water guys up in Warrensburg are really a valuable asset.
And in the days before COVID, they would put on demonstrations for the young people, and they have this big box of sand, and they pour water in it, and they show how erosion happens. And, it doesn't go straight. It curls, and they explain why it does this and does that, so that the young people get to know that stormwater can change the terrain, and sometimes, most of the time, not in beneficial ways. So, okay?
Yeah.
Good question. Anybody else? Okay. How about a motion to approve resolution 3.1 through 3.5?
So moved.
All right. Moved by Councilperson Freer, seconded by Councilperson Barone. Roll call vote on this, please, Rose.
Councilperson Freer.
Yes.
Barone.
Yeah.
McGee.
Yes.
Stroh.
Yes.
And Meadowbrook.
Yes.
Okay. Any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Okay. Privilege to the floor. Anybody who would like to talk to the town board about any town topic, this is your opportunity to do so. I'm going to do it in 1, people present, 2, through YouTube, call in, and 3, anybody on Zoom that may have a question or a town board thought that they want to share with us or on a town issue. So first of all, anybody present like to speak to the town board about any town issue? Yes. New phone, conference call. Right. That's not working.
Welcome, Travis.
Hi, Susan. Let me figure out. This is a new phone. Well, Susan, please call back. On the other one, I knew what button to hit conference call. We got new phones, by the way, this week. All right. Conference call. Do you know, Rose, which one's?
Yes, please.
I think there'd be a bonus here.
So do I hit this one? No, that's people. Hey, Susan?
Hi.
Oh, all right. Got it. All right, Susan.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to comment on this evening concerning the short-term rental law.
Yes.
The first is quiet hours starting at 10 p.m. In my situation, when there's trouble with a group, it's usually taking place outside the rental home at night. It's obvious that they are unaware or just don't care about the rental laws. When 10 p.m. comes and I complain to the owner, it's usually close to 11 when the group takes the party inside. Then it takes an hour just to get back to sleep. So now it's around midnight. How is a family with children supposed to deal with it? I don't know. This can happen any night of the week, and I'm hoping you will consider making the quiet hours start earlier. Even 1 hour could make a difference, but 2 would be helpful for children, of course. And that brings me to the fact that the contact person can live states away from the rental house. This just doesn't seem reasonable to me, as they cannot really take care of any bad situations as they arise. Thank you, and those are my thoughts for this evening.
Well, Susan, before you leave, one is they're violating because the contact person has to be able to respond to the complaint within 1 hour. That's our law. All right, Dave Hatton just informed me that he is taking the owner of the property next to you to court on 3 violations. And that's $950 a violation. All right, so that's probably good news for you, and it's good news for us. And I'll ask the town board to consider looking at the hours of when noise is allowed. Okay?
Okay, John. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome, Susan. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Anybody else wish to call in? Any town issue? All right. While we're waiting, 761-8225. Area code 518-761-8225. Cost Control Associates did an inventory of our street lighting, and they are now done in the meantime, and that means that we can take a look at various options now that we know how many street lights we have, how many lumens each light has, what kind of fixture it is, where it's located. We have all that information, and which ones are owned by the town, because some of those along Route 9, Aviation Road, Quaker Road, that intersection area, those Covert-styled lights are owned by the town. Yet everyone knows that the lights that are on the $1 Million Mile and on Main Street are owned by the town. And under the old lighting system, before we went to LEDs, we were constantly changing the lights and constantly getting people calling us up, and you know this light out and you got 6 lights out and so forth. We haven't gotten that since we went to the LEDs. So not only are we being environmentally friendly and casting better light, our maintenance is practically zero. All right, so we're going to take a look at furthering the options that we have with the intent that we're going to accomplish 2 things. One is we're going to save the taxpayers money. And the second thing is we're going to do the environmentally friendly thing. So we can accomplish those 2 things at the same time. We're looking into that now that we have the inventory done. And going through the streetlights, they found some discrepancies that we were being overcharged by National Grid, not on purpose, but it was just uncovered while we were doing this inventory, and we will receive a refund of $14,659.86. That's good news. All right, so anybody want to call in the town about any town issues? Area code 518-761-8225. All right, while we're waiting, I did get an email from a website that's called Lendedu, Lendedu, and they did a study on the most budget-friendly cities for renters. Queensbury was ranked 12th in the state, and they said that we are a fairly good community for renters. Our average annual rent being $12,744. Our median household income, $74,272. A rent-to-income ratio is just a little over 17%, and they say that's pretty good. All right, area code 518-761-8225. All right, while we're waiting.
Hey, Shelley.
I make up for the last time I didn't have it. All right, state comptroller sent me an email asking you to please do your census, whether it's in the mail or you can go online. Please do it. Now, Queensbury's doing pretty good. I think 60 some odd % of you have done this, but we're not 100%. So how about the rest of you? Please go online, or if you got the paper form in the mail, please fill it out, send it in, or go online and do it. It's easy. It only takes a few minutes. All right. I'm not hearing anything. So I will allow other members of the town board to share their thoughts. With the folks out there, I'll close the privilege of the floor. And Tony, do you have anything you would like to share with the public at this time?
Not at this time, John, thank you.
Harrison, anything?
I have a long list. This is Freer speaking.
All right.
So my first issue is that we all need to work together, encourage everybody, and wear our masks when we're violating people's 6-foot distance. It's been proven that whole wearing the mask thing can help us avoid secondary infections and hotspots, and I think it's in everybody's venue to remind people as courteously as we can. And when I was on the zoning board, I thought we had some signed Gestapos on the zoning board that I didn't understand, but I'm taking over the role of mask Gestapo. So we shouldn't feel like we're being annoying to remind people to wear masks. Second thing is, I don't know if you saw some of the pictures from Steve with regard to Hovey Pond. I'd like to shout out to Gary Higley, who suggested that we look at an improvement after the fact. We weren't able to build the bridge on the north end that he wanted for a lot of reasons, safety and cost, but we were able to make a nice walkway so that people who are coming from the north, especially walking their dogs and that kind of thing. So it turned out very well. Gary wrote back and said that he thought it was much better. Are you going to talk about dirt bike noise? I'll talk about it then.
No, I'm happy to do it. So this is Amanda McGee from Ward 4 speaking. Mike, is it Mike? So I have, my email works. So I've been getting emails and phone calls from people from the community, and I had heard about dirt bike and other motorized vehicles in the, I call it the Stranger Things corridor. It's the National Grid land between the, there's a fireplace, I can't remember the name of it. You go out there and you can see, I mean, it looks like there should be lights and stadium seating and, a snack shack, because people are clearly riding around in there, and it is, it's posted no trespassing, and it's happening all hours, and fences back there have been broken that were created by the Queensbury
Land
Conservancy. So beautiful split rail fence.
So you're talking the part that's over near Hudson Point?
Yeah.
If you're traveling east
And off of Division?
on Corinth,
Yes. And you take a left on Division, parking area for this area?
oh, I think you're talking about the trail that's on the otthe side of the development, right? Is that?
I'm not sure where.
Well, there's a system of trails. It's in those woods and extends
Yeah.
All the way from Hudson Point, along the Hudson River primarily, and goes down to Cary Road.
And that's sort of at the base of the turn, right after Van Dusen.
Of Van Dusen?
Essex Court, with Michael's properties in Essex Court are if you just go south of there, that's where they're running around.
Oh.
So
All right. Because I did get complaints about the Hudson Point trails and the Queensbury Land Conservancy trails over there.
not those trails. So this is, I'll go the other way. If you're traveling west on Corinth, before the road bends, there is a section that just looks like power lines, and that's where they're
All
riding.
right, that's still, okay.
There's a whole nother issue of dogs being off
Part of the
leash.
Michael's Group development that's over there, right?
Well,
Essex Court is a Michael's Group development.
and there's a stretch of land that belongs to the Queensbury Land Conservancy, and then there's the section that's National Grid, and then I don't know what's on the other side. But it's destructive to the land. It's a nuisance to the people in the neighborhood, and in fact, businesses on the other side can hear it, and I've heard them, and I live on Amherst.
So John, the reason I had it on my list was this whole notion of quiet hours. You know, right now, the only quiet hours that the town law has, as I understand it, is for this latest short-term rental, right? There's no other quiet hour law for the town, right, other than, you know, but this was, they were talking about 1 a.m., these guys riding around out here. So, you know, we might continue to get public feedback on whether we really need something broader quiet hours than just the short-term rental.
Well, we took a run at nuisance law a couple
Right,
of times.
yep,
But it was kind of too broad in nature.
right.
Maybe we defined it down to maybe hours of day that certain things can occur.
When we get back together and go over, you know, start doing our workshops again, I have a simple solution to the nuisance law that I would love to run it by you guys. It would be easy
Okay.
to monitor, regulate, enforce, whatever, without getting into decibel readings. And it really is, it talks about this and lawnmowers and excavators and stuff like that, without, you know, going into too much.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I just think, you know, from the problems that I hear, especially on Glen Lake and Lake George, it's a simple solution and it is enforceable.
Well, that's exciting, because I think when I was doing research before I was appointed, I was reading old articles, and I did see a couple of times when there were comments from people who weren't having issues with STRs, trying to understand why people next to an SDR would be given more consideration to disruptions to their lives than people who live next to
A dog or a track.
whatever it is. I mean, I feel sad for the people who might want to mow in the dawn light, but I don't think it's necessary.
It's not, and that's just the problem. That's the complaints. The excavators that start, you know, we had one doing a foundation at 4:30 in the morning once. I went out there and said, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And he's like, "Drag your ass, mind your own business." It's 4:30 in the morning in the residential neighborhood. I mean, come on. And this is the stuff that, you know, if you have a law in place, you can't be excavating at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, call the cops, and they get fined. Easy enough. Start at, 7 o'clock during the week, 9 o'clock on weekends. Why are you laughing?
I'm looking at our lawyer down here. It's not so easy.
Haven't said a word.
What's that?
Haven't said a word.
Who was it? The South Glens Falls noise ordinance? One of you found that and shared it.
Yeah. I mean, there are noise ordinances. I had the guys across the street just breaking up the sidewalk at 6:45 one morning. And I went out and said, "Hey, guys," I was up, but I said, "You're going to force us to create a noise ordinance or some kind of nuisance ordinance." So, but I think it's useful for us to talk about it here and get other people's feedback, either emails or just.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, Sunday morning, it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I told Chris, my wife Chris, that I'm going to go mow the lawn. She says, "This early in the morning when the neighbors and the kids are sleeping?" She says, "Why don't you go kayak?"
No.
So I did. I went. They came back at 10 o'clock and mowed the lawn.
Simple solution. And 10 o'clock is fine on the weekend,
Yeah.
But 7 o'clock on Sunday, that's not.
Okay. All right.
I'm done.
You're done. All right, George.
I didn't have anything, just to mention everybody to take care of themselves during these heat waves and the second one this summer. Seems to be a hot one, so everyone needs to stay hydrated and take care of themselves.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Amanda, anything else?
I'm glad you read Judy's letter. That was really neat to see. And
Well written too, huh?
yeah, and I just think on the topic of people calling in or emailing, one gentleman who reached out, I emailed him back on Saturday and said, did you want to talk next week or today? And he spent 2 minutes just being grateful. So I think it's amazing what this board can do in just letting people be heard. And I'm just grateful for that opportunity.
Very good. Very good note. All right. Is that it?
Yes.
Oh, you're all waiting to hear what I have to say.
You haven't finished yet?
No. All right. It's been a busy day and a busy week. I got a note. Homes and community renewal. This is for the affordable housing study that we did. We got grant money for that. Congratulations on the successful, this comes from State of New York, State of Opportunity, Governor Andrew Cuomo, from Charles Fillion, Program Director of Renewal. And congratulations on the successful completion of the Town of Queensbury's New York State Community Development Block Grant. The Town of Queensbury has met all contractual obligations, and the Office of Community Renewal approves the closeout of the grant. And pursuant to Section 8 of the grant agreement, the Town of Queensbury shall keep and maintain complete and accurate records, and these documents for a period of not less than 7 years, and it's in compliance with the New York State and federal records retention requirements. So I want to congratulate you on behalf of Governor Andrew Cuomo, the New York State Homes and Community Renewal Commissioner, on the successful completion of your New York State Community Development Block Grant. You see, we do the grants, correct. There are bloggers out there, I don't read the blogs, but people tell me about them. And they keep on saying, well, we did such and such wrong during the Decker thing. No, we didn't. We didn't do anything wrong with any of the grants during our stay here on the town board. Okay. So, they can go and repeat things as 100 times. It doesn't make it true. All right. I also have some information from Dee Park, Director of the Office of the Aging. It's a farmers market checks 2020 distribution plan. The Farmers Market Check Program offers $20 towards local fruit and vegetables redeemable at participating farmers markets through November 30th, 2020. This year, the distribution plan will be a little bit different because of COVID-19. We will be replacing outreach events with the following 3 options. And it goes on for eligible clients that live in Cronin High Rise, Stitchman Towers, Whitewater Manor, Solomon Heights, Village Green Apartments, LaRose Gardens, or Indian Lake Senior Housing. We will be working with the manager of these complexes to get you the checks. Please reach out to them if you're not interested. For those who normally come to the office to pick the check up, we will have a couple of drive-through events at Warren County Municipal Center. Please wear a mask and please bring your own pen. Remain in your car, and we will come to you in the order you arrive. There may be a line, but the wait should be minimal. Enter the main complex, take a right onto the parking lot by the flagpole. We will have a table and tent at the end of the row. The dates of these drive-through events are as follows. Tuesday, August 4th, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Tuesday, August 11th, 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Tuesday, August 18th, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Tuesday, August 25th, 10:30 to 11:30 p.m. So, and there's other information. You can call the Warren County Municipal Center, Office of the Aging, and get more information should you need it. Next item. The Lake George Mirror has a nice article. Queensbury's in here all the time. When people say Queensbury, Lake George. Yeah, there's 13 and a half miles of coastline on Lake George that are in the town of Queensbury. People don't realize that. Our northern border cuts through Speaker, Hack, and Long Island, out in Lake George. Yes, that's the northern border of the town of Queensbury. All right. So, and we work very closely with the Lake George Association and the Fund for Lake George and the Lake George Park Commission on all Lake George issues and other organizations as well, such as Lake George Land Conservancy. Now, the Fund for Lake George is launching a safe septic initiative to protect Lake George from pollution. This will be a partnership with 2 local banks and will help homeowners replace aging and failing systems. So the Fund for Lake George has launched a partnership with 2 local banks to replace as many as 4,000 systems within the Lake George watershed, protecting the lake from pollution and potential sources of harmful algae blooms. Eric Tsai, Executive Director of the Fund for Lake George, said that Glen Slows National Bank and the Adirondack Trust Bank Company, have agreed to provide low and in some cases no interest loans to homeowners looking to replace on-site wastewater treatment systems, a project that can cost as much as $30,000 per home. So the Fund for Lake George recognizes these replacement costs can be an obstacle, and so that's why they want to help supplement that funding with low or no interest funding from those 2 banks I mentioned. Then it goes on why we need to do this. So thank you for the Fund for Lake George for this great effort. All right, be careful if you're on the side of West Mountain or between West Mountain and the Northway. There's been bear sightings. We even saw them on the Gurney Lane Trail. Some of the users of the Gurney Lane Trail said they saw a bear. Other reports is a bear and a couple of cubs. Stay away from a mother bear and her cubs. Stay away from all bears, but just, a little bit, be on the careful side. And again, I got another resident, and I don't give their names unless they say I should or could. I'm writing to you in a continued effort to draft and secure a noise ordinance for the town of Queensbury. As a summer weekend resident on Glen Lake for the past 10 years, which was once a quiet respite for my family and I after a long work week, has become anything but. And she goes on. So there is a call for a noise ordinance. Last, not least, we were criticized by the Post-Star, and I get that. We're an open government. Criticism's part of what we do, but sometimes the criticism isn't fair. And I don't think this was the opportunity. Kathleen Moore's article, I don't think was fair. Now, because the editorial is sometimes based on the reporter's article. If there were errors in the article, then the people that do the editorial are basing their editorial on those errors. All right, for example, there are errors, and I could go through almost every single article that is done by a certain reporter. But again, talking about short-term rentals in Queensbury, and she says that our zoning code prohibits hotels and other official short-term rental facilities in the R1 residential zones. We don't have an R1 residential zone. And you can go on our website. We have a very open website, all kinds of documents and everything else. I'm just saying, some of what you read may be erroneous. So when we get the board shouldn't iron out their differences via emails and then followed up by an editorial, okay, on the topic that I think was just wrong. And one person that knows a lot about government is Jim Brock. He has a letter to the editor of today's Post-Star, and he talks about decision-making in governments can be quite involved. I mean, let's take a look at what this board is doing right now. What are we looking at? We're looking at affordable housing. We're looking at invasive species management. We're looking at sidewalks on Aviation Road in the Broad Acres area. We're looking at vacation time and the employees and how COVID has affected all that and what can we do. We're looking at bears. We're looking at beavers. We're doing a brownfield opportunity look at South Queensbury. We are forming a budget for 2021, and this year is going to be especially have its challenges. We got building projects going on the highway, in the cemetery department, at the Hubby Pond Park. We have citizen issues, complaints about stormwater, complaints about potholes, complaints about COVID compliance. We've got a Clearbrook project. They want us to take a look at some property over there. We're assessing that. We're looking at updating our comprehensive land use plan. We're looking at the Halfway Brook Trail and a connector trail from the Halfway Brook Trail to the Feeder Canal Trail system. We've got employee issues. We're right in the middle or towards the tail end of an EMS study that is looking at evaluating and assessing our town's EMS system. We're looking at efficiencies and how we can do things better. We're putting in EV stations, the installation of EV stations. We're putting them in the town office. We're putting them near exit 18, or we're putting them at Hubby Pond. The installation is underway. We are now working on fire budgets for 2021, 2022, 2023. We're going to be looking at EMS budgets, but I think we need to assess the study on our EMS system, which, by the way, one of the first things that was brought forward in a draft form, albeit, is that we have a very good EMS system in Queensbury. Can it be improved? Certainly. We're looking at fleet management. For a long time, our fleet management has been ignored. We need to get to where the vehicles are not 20 years old and breaking down constantly. We're also taking a look at a fleet management program. And we, like I said, we got stormwater issues on Alta Avenue, Foster Avenue, Burnt Hill Drive, Ephrey Circle, Richmond, Northwest Village, Pinewood Hollow. We're also working with the town of Lake George and developing a French Mountain Park. Garrison Road, we're looking at doing a sewer rehab project. So we're putting together bonds and insurances. Glen Lake has its invasive species mitigation plan. Not only that, but Glen Lake is going to be working with the town to develop a Glen Lake watershed management plan. We have the highway garage. We have the highway salt barn. We secured the services and outsourced our HR. That's underway and working well. We work with Lake George communities, such as the village of Lake George and the town of Lake George and the town of Bolton, the town of Hague, on Lake George issues. And Lake George issues are very consuming. We're working on them all the time. Meadowbrook sewer. Covert replacement programs. We're assessing our culverts. Are they big enough for the big storm events that we're having right now? Noise ordinance. We have a North Queensbury wastewater disposal district, unique in the town, in the state of New York. We formulated that along with Barb and Lem Sims and the other people that were involved in the Douglas Bay area. We've been working with the city of Glens Falls to develop a lower watershed management plan. Meadowbrook sewer is getting replaced. We have to do the band and the bond on that. The town of Queensbury is working very hard to make sure that we have a COVID plan for our employees and our visitors, but we're also working very hard to make sure that COVID rules are being observed in the big box stores and the restaurants and elsewhere. We have our MS4 program that's an ongoing effort. We have Pathway Corridor Project, which identified the $1 Million Mile, the intersection of Round Pond Road, and the Sweet Road, Weeks Road intersections as needing work. We're looking at putting a crosswalk that will connect the Rush Pond Trail with the Halfway Brook Trail, and it's going to be a rapid frequency lighting system to better protect pedestrians that are crossing there. So we're radar speed signs. We'll get the poles, George. We'll get some of these up. We'll get going on that. Ridge Road sidewalks, road salt, brine in the system, and getting that under gear. Route 9, Upper Glen Street. There's been a stormwater there for decades. We're finally getting to repair that. Foster Avenue is stormwater. We're working on that. Short-term rental issues. Right-of-way discussions with National Grid for a segment of our connector trail that will connect the Halfway Brook Trail to the Feeder Canal Trail. We've got solar projects, Ridge Road, landfill, Sibagagi. We're looking at our solid waste situation. Yeah, it'd be nice to get down to zero solid waste. But in the meantime, we're looking at our recycling and our e-waste recycling and our efforts there. And what can we do better? Stormwater facilities management, street lighting, traffic signals. Yes, a lot of the traffic signals in the town of Queensbury are the towns, and they have to be maintained and updated. We're updating our employee handbook. We just got done with our CSEA, the union agreement. We've had the water issues that Superintendent Chris Harrington has brought up again and again. We got yard waste issues and so forth. And where do we store that up to the Ridge Road landfill? We have zoning requests for Everett's, Homer, Quakers, Silo, Main Street, office zones. And that's just right now. That's right now. That's not things that we've done or things we're going to be doing. These are things we're looking at right now just off the top of my head. So I put forward, I said, okay, because Kathleen Moore, the reporter for the Post-Star, never asked me for an example. And the Post-Star says I tried to backtrack by mentioning workshops. I didn't mention workshops. Kathleen Moore mentioned workshops. So to say that I was backtracking, mentioning workshops is not the truth. So I put together, let's look at the ground-mounted solar issue. Okay? Just for the public, I just want to give you one example of what's involved when you asked us to do something, and we are going to do it diligently if it needs to be done. So about 2 years ago, we had a town resident complain at a town board meeting about a neighbor's recently installed ground-mounted solar structure, a rather large, for a small yard, raised structure covered with solar panels. The complainant resident described the neighbor's mounted solar system as unsightly, ugly, inappropriate for residential, especially one with small lots. So, on their own, each town board members did a site visit. Upon discussions with one another at chance meetings, never exceeding 2, as a result of those discussions, consensus was apparent that ground-mounted solar as presented in this type of neighborhood was indeed unsightly and inappropriately, and we need to address this issue. Our first discussions, informal meetings with one another here and there, never more than 2 council persons, were discussions on what options might solve the problem. Via emails, informal discussions, never more than 2 council persons. We investigated our options. Favorite at the time was setting a minimum lot size and setting setbacks for ground-mounted solar structures in residential zones. Backyard only, 1 acre or larger, 50-foot setback were mentioned. We had a town board workshop where some of the above was rediscussed. And at this workshop, Ward 2 Councilperson Catherine Atherton offered to investigate the matter further. Councilperson Atherton investigated the matter using the internet, researching what other municipalities were doing to address the issues we needed to resolve. Discussing further was zoning and planning administrator Craig Brown. Had additional discussions with town board discussions that took place through informal meetings and emails. Following the above, she landed on a model solar law put forth by New York State agency, which we could use to address our solar mounted issue. Now that model law was shared via email and further discussed at subsequent town board workshops, and that's plural. At the workshops, we identified parts of the model law that appeared to be favorable to what we're trying to do for the town of Queensbury, and there were parts of it that were not. So then the proposed law sat idle through the 2019 November election. Councilperson Atherton decided not to run. Harrison Freer was elected in her place. And then we went through the deepest part of the COVID-19 crisis. So Councilperson Freer discussed this issue with me so that he would better understand the history and possible solutions to this issue, and he volunteered to push it forward and make progress with this. He met with Craig Brown. They discussed. They made additional amendments to the ground-mounted solar. One of the amendments was to rename the law Renewable Energy Law, because Harrison wanted the scope of the law to be able to have the potential to include future regulation of other renewable energy sources such as wind. Councilperson Freer shared the newly amended law with other members of the town board via email. The newly amended proposed solar law, now referred to as Renewable Energy Law, was discussed at subsequent town board workshops. Some of the issues of the newly proposed law were discussed, so additional language changes were needed, but those language changes needed some more thought. For example, ground-mounted solar and solar farm could be interpreted as the same thing, but should be looked at separately, and what zones would allow for solar farms, and we needed to have that discussion. Craig Brown, in turn, got involved via email that we add a sentence to the proposed law that declares solar farms would not be treated the same as ground-mounted solar, and in the same email, asked the town board their thoughts as to what zones should allow solar farms, mentioning the 3 zones of the town that have other outside interests, have shown an interest in locating solar farms in the town of Queensbury. So at the end of this above described process, the draft renewable energy law, composed through emails, non-quorum side discussions, and town board workshops, will be presented to town council for their review. Whereafter, it is very possible that aspects of the proposed law will need further forging of the wording. And that might include emails and possible one-on-one discussions between town board members. At some point, the town board is going to be comfortable with the proposed law in that they feel it suits the residents' wishes, responds to our community needs, and addresses the original issue and the other potential issues that might arise with renewable energy in the town of Queensbury. And the law will be available for public review, and there will be a public hearing set to discuss. And at this public hearing, additional discussion is likely to occur, and as a result of the public hearing and ensuing discussions, it's very possible that aspects of the proposed law become identified as needing further forging. And that might include emails and possible one-on-one discussions with town board and if significant changes are made to the law, then town council will have to re-review. We'll have another public hearing. All the above happens before we approve. And this is an easy one. Okay? The ground-mounted solar or, law going through its phases. I mentioned all the things that are going on right now in the town of Queensbury. So to criticize us, that we have to do all our debating in public, which we do, but a lot happens before it gets to this point. And so Kathleen Moore did not ask me for an example. She did not want to dig in any deeper than the surface, and she saw an opportunity to criticize the board, and she went with it, and I thought her criticism and the following editorial were very unfair. So I had our legal department review this. What we do, I gave the example to them, And I'm going to tell you in part what they said. We do not believe the town of Queensbury has violated the open meetings law. The letter of the law, and many who feel otherwise might be mistaken. We did not violate the open meetings law. It is clear that the board neither engaged in nor is contemplating engaging in any unlawful behavior that violates the open meeting law. In summary, we believe the Queensbury Town Board compliance with the letter of the open meetings law is exemplary, that the town board takes its legal responsibility of transparency very seriously, and it does an excellent job in doing so, and we are not aware of any open meetings law violations. All right. Here we have the town board. We have a public meeting here. We have YouTube going on. We have Zoom going all at the same time. Naming another municipality that makes the effort that the town of Queensbury makes to make sure that we are open and transparent in all aspects of what we do. I know of no others that go to the extent that we do. So I thought it was very unfair. All right. I said my say. Anything else for the good of the order?
So I read the editorial, and I agree that I think we all try to live by the letter and spirit of the law. I think it was just a good reminder that, we do have to be conscientious, just like wearing masks, about, complying with the law. And I think we do.
Thanks. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Good.
All right. Thank you, Town Council Mark Shatner. Thank you, Deputy Councilor Rose Mallon. Thank you, Joe Barlow from Look TV. And thank Peter Pate from Pate Productions. And thanks the town board for all being here tonight and working as hard as you do at being open and transparent. I want to thank you. And, if you think we get an editorial congratulating the town of Queensbury on being so open and transparent. All righty. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Brown, seconded by Councilperson McGee. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian-American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.